100%.
Can you define to me what that means?
Well, generational talent would be that you have physical attributes that are rare and unique. When did 6'4", 225 pounds, 4'5", 4'6" in the 40?
None of those things.
100%. He's 100% 6'4", 220 plus pounds, and is like 4'5", 4'6" in the 40. Got clocked at 21 miles an hour on GPS. When did that not become at the quarterback spot generational physical ability, let alone elite, rare bloodlines when it comes to the quarterback position?
What that means, multiple teams, 32 teams passed on him multiple times. And now you want me to say the one team that did decide to draft him doesn't have his best interests at heart. The thing is, he was a 5th round draft pick. 5th round draft picks get 5th round treatment, even if we don't feel like they deserve to be drafted in the 5th round. So you're going to play with some guys who don't make the team. You know who else you're going to play against? Some guys that don't make the team.
Ryan Clark just snapped on Dan Orlovsky, and the ESPN studio turned into pure chaos. Dan had the nerve to throw shade at Shedeur before the Lions even touched the field, and Ryan wasn't having any of it. What started as harmless pregame chatter exploded into a full-on verbal demolition. This wasn't commentary. It was a roast, a clap back, and a meltdown all happening live on air. You could practically feel the tension through the screen. If you're enjoying this madness, make sure to hit that subscribe button. It helps way more than you think. Because trust me, after this, ESPN might need a rebuild. Ryan Clark didn't just walk onto the set, he launched a nuclear strike, and the target, Dan Orlovsky, the quarterback turned analyst with a highlight reel full of questionable takes. It all kicked off during a friendly discussion about Arch Manning being a generational talent. Sounds innocent, right? Wrong. This was supposed to be a calm talk about potential and hype, but instead, it spiraled into total chaos. Dan Orlovsky, bless his overconfident heart, hopped on the Arch Manning hype train like a kid who just found free candy. He declared Arch the future of football, calling him a once-in-a-lifetime player. Meanwhile, Ryan sat there with that look.
Your moves slowly kind of trying to see what's going on, and then that creates that sack fumble. So a lot of the stuff that we just saw in college is a big deal. This ball gets snapped at the 48-yard line. Defense has won the rep. Play is dead. Throw the ball away.
Yep.
It's first down. But instead we run and it's a 2.5, 3-yard loss. So instead of being 2nd and 10, we're 2nd and 13. We're dead. Again, here's the opportunity to throw the juke route. Hold, scramble. So some of those things that I was and others were concerned about on the college tape showed itself again. This is not the end of the world, though. This is part of his development in becoming a potential starting quarterback.
The kind you give someone seconds before dropping verbal bombs. You could almost hear him thinking, you're really about to say this, and I'm gonna tear it apart. Then boom, he did what Ryan Clark does best. He ripped into the broken system that lets average ex-quarterbacks crown the next great one before the kid even proves himself. Ryan wasn't just disagreeing. He was exposing the whole flawed setup, piece by piece. And the moment Orlovsky started rattling off his so-called stats like he was reading off a grocery list, you just knew it was about to go down. 6'4", 225 pounds, and hitting 21 miles per hour on GPS, Dan thought those numbers were his knockout punch. But Ryan Clark, cool as ever, shut it all down with one line that shook the room. He said, you don't need a speedometer to know if a quarterback can dominate, because running fast doesn't make you Lamar Jackson. And right there, you could practically see Dan Orlovsky's soul float straight out of his body. It was brutal. The beauty of Clark's response wasn't in stats, it was in principle. He exposed something deep. Average quarterbacks love seeing average succeed because it makes them feel seen. That's just science, baby. They look at mediocrity and confuse it with potential. They hype up safe, unproven names while real talent gets pushed to the side.
It's infuriating.
Stop with the Shedeur Sanders is being set up to fail narrative. Who do you want to start the game? It's preseason week 1. First option, Joe Flacco. He's played for like 20 years. He's not going to start preseason week 1. The next 2 options would be a Kenny Pickett or a Dylan Gabriel. Both are dealing with hamstring injuries. Neither has practiced a ton recently. If they've done anything, I believe it's been 7-on-7. Who do you want to start the game? The next 2 options are Shedeur and Snoop Huntley. Shedeur's been there. Snoop Hunt.
And Dan, he's been the poster boy for that nonsense. For years, he's been out here hyping up rookies like they're the second coming while tearing down quarterbacks who actually earned their stripes, acting like he's the gatekeeper of greatness, until Clark came in with a verbal sledgehammer and smashed that gate wide open. But let's be real, this wasn't just about Arch Manning. Arch was just the bait on the hook. The real story hiding underneath all that fake praise was Shedeur Sanders, the same quarterback who's been proving himself over and over, carrying teams, silencing critics, and still getting shrugged off by analysts too blind to see real talent when it's right in front of them. Clark didn't even have to say Shedeur's name. By shredding Dan's logic, he exposed the whole industry bias, the same bias that calls untested prospects generational while ignoring the guys who actually shine under pressure. And just when everyone thought the moment had peaked, Clark dropped a line so cold, so savage, it instantly cemented itself as one of the most iconic moments in sports TV history. I don't care what that little vest you wear on top of your nipples says. Boom! Mic dropped. The whole room froze after Ryan Clark unleashed that line.
In fact, RC, I thought you described it very well in our meeting this morning, what it is they are and aren't doing.
Yeah, what it is that they're doing is they're treating Shedeur Sanders like a fifth-round pick. Right? We're not covering every fifth-round pick in the NFL hoping that he gets an opportunity to be the starter on day one. We felt like, oh my goodness, they got a diamond in the rough. Shedeur Sanders fell to the 5th round. They felt like they evaluated him there, and that's where they picked him. And they're playing.
It was straight up TV gold. The sight of Dan Orlovsky trying to defend his precious stats, analytics, and empty hype while Clark dismantled him with pure logic was almost cartoon-level comedy. It was like watching someone build a sandcastle right before a tsunami, and that tsunami's name was Ryan Clark. And trust, he didn't just bring opinions, he brought receipts. Clark started naming the real generational quarterbacks: Trevor Lawrence, Caleb Williams, Lamar Jackson. Those are guys who walk in and flip entire programs overnight. They don't wait their turn, they don't hide behind excuses, and they definitely don't need validation from ESPN analysts. They dominate. They make coaches, critics, and fans eat their words every single time. Then Clark hit the point that made everyone lean forward: Shedeur Sanders.
And this is just my opinion, it's time for Deion to let go a little bit, right? It's time for, if you're saying this about Shedeur, you get to say that now because I'm not his coach anymore. If Shedeur is dealing with this certain level of adversity, yeah, I'm on the phone with him. Yeah, I'm in his room and we're having conversations, but when he goes to work, he has to go to work as a man. Right, Shedeur Sanders is going to be leading dudes that were like you in the league, that were like you, that were like me. At the time, you had kids and were married. I had kids and was married. Chan, you was a grown man that said, I can go in the streets every night and I can come in here and work.
The man's been walking into programs like Jackson State in Colorado, transforming entire cultures, and still somehow getting talked down by analysts who should know better. It's ridiculous. It's insulting. And honestly, it's hilarious watching Dan squirm trying to explain it away. That's when Dan tried to save face, tossing out some nonsense about NIL money, like that's why the narrative's off. Clark didn't even blink. He shut that down instantly, saying generational talent doesn't wait on contracts or money deals. It forces recognition. It doesn't ask for permission. It demands respect. And that's exactly what Shedeur's done. His presence alone makes coaches change game plans, fans tune in, and programs rise from the ground. He's not just playing football, he's rewriting what dominance looks like. And the crazy part, he's doing it while the so-called experts still act like they can't see it. Meanwhile, Orlovsky's still clutching that little vest like it's a security blanket, staring at his numbers, measuring speed, and trying to justify hype over real production.
Generational talent is different. Who are generationally talented quarterbacks to you?
I mean, present day or college kids?
If you go present
like in
day,
the NFL?
In the NFL, who's a
Lamar.
He ain't Lamar.
I'm not saying he's Lamar,
but it's the other thing though. The people you're comparing him to, right? Like, let's just talk about the people you're comparing him to. You know what Lamar Jackson had by this point in college? A Heisman.
But Lamar played a lot more. He had stopped.
Because he was that good.
RC, Lamar's first start, he went 9 of 20 with a pick.
This is third start. Stop saying it's
against the real opponent.
It's his third.
Against the real opponent.
And also, too.
Okay, so we can go to
year in college.
But he hasn't played bowling.
Because you know why? Because if you're Trevor Lawrence and you're a transcendent, generational quarterback talent,
Kelly Bryant can be the incumbent starter.
It's almost tragic and hilarious at the same time, because what Ryan Clark did in that moment went way beyond defending Shedeur Sanders. He exposed an entire broken system hiding in plain sight. He pulled the curtain back on analysts like Orlovsky, the ones who build stories based on bloodlines, hype, and straight-up bias. They confuse potential with proof. They crown untested players as the next big thing, while ignoring those who've already put in the work and delivered results under pressure. It's not subtle, it's obvious, it's embarrassing, and Clark made shredding it look effortless. Picture it, Orlovsky sitting there, years of football expertise melting away in real time. The man's built a career tossing out quarterback stats like party confetti, and suddenly a real one. A player who's been there and done that starts picking apart every flaw in his logic. You could practically see the panic as he tried to pivot, bringing up different eras, competition levels, even NIL money, but it was too late. That narrative was falling apart faster than a cheap lawn chair in a hurricane. The audience could feel it. His credibility was vanishing right in front of the cameras. And the comedy of it all just made the takedown even sweeter, because Ryan wasn't just hitting him with numbers, he hit him with truth and common sense. He asked the question that flipped the whole table. If Arch Manning is generational after 3 career starts, what does that make quarterbacks like Shedeur Sanders, who's been dominating for years? The stats are there, the wins are there, the clutch moments are undeniable. Shedeur doesn't need hype. His game is the proof, and everyone watching knew it.
As Dan Orlovsky gets, he keeps on bigging up Arch Manning to make Arch Manning one of the greatest quarterbacks he's seen in college history. Now, there's a long list of quarterbacks that we can talk about in college that was great. But the thing about it is Dan Orlovsky's takes on these quarterbacks, because Dan Orlovsky was a quarterback himself. And like I stated to you guys, man, Dan Orlovsky likes mediocrity. He likes mediocre players because he was a mediocre quarterback himself. And Dan Orlovsky's takes on these quarterbacks is downright asinine. And Ryan Clark wastes no time in destroying everything that he has to say about these quarterbacks.
Shedeur Sanders walks into a program and instantly elevates it. Yet the media machine, it looks the other way. Instead of celebrating the real, it keeps hyping the hype while ignoring the proof right in front of them. The irony is delicious. Dan Orlovsky, the man paid to evaluate quarterbacks, got schooled live on air about what real talent looks like, and still had the nerve to keep lecturing everyone about potential and hype. It was comedy and chaos rolled into one perfect moment. Ryan Clark didn't just argue, he dismantled the whole system piece by piece. He broke down the lazy logic that props up mediocrity while downplaying elite players like Shedeur. You could see the audience catching on too. Every time Orlovsky squirmed, the truth hit harder. It was beautiful, controlled destruction. But this debate wasn't just about one player or one analyst. It was about the entire sports media game that keeps recycling the same biased storylines. Players like Shedeur have to fight uphill every day, not because they lack skill, but because they don't fit the safe, traditional mold the media loves. Analysts cling to bloodlines and nostalgia, rewriting reality to fit their comfort zone. And Clark, he ripped that curtain wide open for everyone to see. The bias, the favoritism, the flat-out absurdity running the show. And here's the wild part. He didn't even need to drop Shedeur's name for people to know exactly who he was talking about. By exposing Orlovsky, he exposed the double standards baked into the system. Then came the fallout. Dan, desperate to save face, started rambling about physical measurables, GPS speed, and that infamous vest again. But Clark didn't blink. He fired back. You can't measure heart, poise, or leadership with a speedometer. That line hit like a hammer because you can't quantify soul. You can't fake the ability to transform a program. And calling someone generational off 3 starts while ignoring a quarterback who proves it every week, that's not just wrong. It's laughable. That vest joke wasn't just funny. It was devastating. Kill. That line summed it all up. The absurdity of letting analytics and hype outweigh real performance. Numbers can't tell the full story, and Ryan Clark made that crystal clear. Generational players don't need fancy metrics or hype machines. They show you. And Shedeur Sanders, he's living proof.
Talent? Then who is? And how are we measuring it? Because we can't sit there and go, because of the way the first start on the road.
There's very few of them. I think there's less than what you think. I think John Elway was a generational talent. I think Patrick Mahomes is a generational talent. I don't think Tom Brady, I don't think Drew Brees, I don't think Peyton Manning are generational talents. I think Andrew Luck ended up being a generational talent. I don't think there's a ton of them out there.
But so then what? Then how does one, in your eyes, be a generational talent? Because there's not a lot of difference.
He walks into a broken program, flips it into a winner, hits clutch plays when it matters most, earns the respect of veterans. And still, somehow, the media undervalues him. It's wild. It's comedy gold wrapped in frustration. Then came Clark's knockout punch, calling out the insanity of labeling someone generational after 3 starts. 3, he broke it down perfectly. True generational talent doesn't wait for approval. It takes over immediately. It forces change. It shifts culture and leaves a mark that can't be denied. Just look at Caleb Williams, Trevor Lawrence, Lamar Jackson. They walked in and owned the moment. And Shedeur, he's been doing the same thing, but still fighting to get the recognition that should have been his from day one. Meanwhile, there's Orlovski, still obsessing over speed charts and GPS data, missing the forest for the trees. The irony is flawless, the comedy's sharp. But underneath it all, the truth stings. For anyone who actually loves this game, watching that bias play out is pure frustration.
Things got real heated in the ESPN studios as Ryan Clark completely destroyed Dan Orlovsky over his Arch Manning generational take. Now, we've seen Dan Orlovsky's bad take on Shedeur Sanders, and Ryan Clark has had enough. But we're gonna, guys, man, I'm here to tell you, man, it seems like Ryan Clark has had enough of Dan Orlovsky's bad takes when it comes to these quarterbacks. Now, we all seen and we've all heard Dan Orlovsky's take on Shedeur Sanders. We also seen him compare Dylan Gabriel to Shedeur Sanders.
By the end, you realize this showdown wasn't just about Arch Manning or Shedeur Sanders. It was a full-blown reality check for the sports media industry. Analysts like Orlovsky are supposed to bring insight and honesty, but instead, they feed the hype machine, glorifying the unproven while dismissing the ones who deliver. And Clark, he tore that whole illusion apart in one sitting. Calm, composed, surgical. He didn't need to yell or grandstand. He let truth do the talking, and when it hit, it was louder than any shout could ever be. Ryan Clark didn't need to exaggerate or twist words. The truth spoke loud enough. And Dan Orlovsky, he just learned the hard way how flimsy his so-called analysis really was. Watching this all go down felt like a masterclass in sports media accountability. And at the same time, it was pure comedy gold.
So while Shedeur may not have had reps with the ones, what else do you want them to do in Cleveland? It's an opportunity for him. It may not be the ideal opportunity. Very rarely is it for a 5th round pick, but it's an opportunity for him to go out there and do in a game what many have reported he's done in practice. Stop with the setup to fail narrative.
Gonna try and knock that. Dan was stammering, fumbling through his words, trying to defend hype and numbers, while Ryan calmly tore apart every single flaw in his logic. It was brutal and beautiful. It felt like a slow-motion train wreck. If that train was packed full of bad quarterback takes and Ryan Clark was tossing truth grenades at every car, you wanted to look away, but you couldn't. The chaos was too real, too satisfying. By the time Ryan was done, Orlovsky's credibility was dust, gone. And the entire audience knew it. Analysts, fans, everyone watching realized one simple truth. If you're relying on Orlovsky to tell you who's elite, you might as well flip a coin. Because real talent doesn't need hype. Real talent doesn't beg for validation. It forces it. And that's exactly what Shedeur Sanders represents. He's the living example of what happens when skill, poise, and production speak louder than media narratives. You can't fake that kind of impact. It's undeniable. That's why this moment will live forever in sports media history. Ryan Clark didn't just win a debate, he exposed an entire mindset. He held up a mirror to the system, and the reflection was ugly, hilarious, and completely deserved. So next time you hear some analyst hyping a quarterback with 3 starts while brushing off someone who's been delivering week after week, remember this moment. Remember the chaos. Remember that little vest line that shook the internet. And remember Ryan Clark standing tall, dismantling the so-called expert who thought he could outtalk the truth.
My analysis on Shedeur Sanders for the people that messaged me, Uncle Tom, or commented, fool, I do want to say something to you sincerely from the bottom of my heart, and that's kiss my. I'm not going to holler sabotage and racism when I don't truly believe something is sabotage and racism. I did have a problem with the way Shedeur Sanders was covered in the pre-draft process. The anonymous reports demeaning a young man's character who had never done anything wrong away from the field, had never shown anything but leadership.
And getting absolutely wrecked in front of everyone. And let's be real, the tape never lies. Results don't lie. And true talent, it always forces recognition. Shedeur Sanders has proven himself at every single level. High school, college, you name it. He's walked into struggling programs, flipped them overnight, made clutch plays under pressure, earned respect from teammates twice his age, and still, somehow, he's fighting through unfair narratives from people who should know better. It's crazy. Analysts like Orlovsky will keep hyping mediocrity, selling empty stats and storylines. But moments like this one, they remind everyone what really matters. Credibility, consistency, and actual performance will always outshine hype, measurables, or nostalgia. The real ones see it, the fans feel it, and the results speak for themselves, loud and clear. And as for Dan Orlovsky, maybe it's time to upgrade that vest, because next time someone with real knowledge calls you out, that tiny piece of fabric won't save you. The truth hit harder than any tackle, and the entire sports world felt it. Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit like, share, and don't forget to subscribe. See you on the next one.